Welcome to Holy Fuck. Holy Fuck. Holy Fuck. Two gals on the prowl for enlightenment, sex, and all things holy. Holy Fuck. Each week, beauty alchemist and transformational coach and speaker, Katherine McClelland, and spiritual healer and life coach, Krista Kim, discuss navigating spiritual consciousness in a real human body. Stumbling through dating, relationships, and everyday life, all while maintaining a fucking sense of humor.
Hey, Krista.
Hey, Katherine.
How are ya?
I'm good. How are
Hello.
you?
I'm good, thank you. We very much hope you're well today. We're having a rainy, beautiful winter day that didn't turn into a disaster that
I know.
we thought it might, so we're really, really happy.
Happy for the rainfall.
Happy for the rain, because we don't get much in California anymore.
We're some dry people here.
We're getting a little dried out. And we don't mean that. But we mean it in the...
What do you mean?
I was like, we get a little dried out. Sounds a little like we wouldn't want to say that about ourselves.
Because you're referencing a vagina dried out?
I could have been. Apparently, now we're going to call it. I do not have... What are you insinuating? That's why I said we're not having that problem.
Well, I guess I've never asked you the levels of your vagina.
Okay. So what we're saying is we have not abandoned our personal juiciness, but outside around us in California, it's been pretty dry. So we love rain, and we're happy to have it.
We love to be wet.
And thank you, Krista. We love to be wet.
So how do you do that, Katherine?
I was pretty sure I wasn't going to get away without answering that question today.
But why?
I don't know. Sometimes I get a little shy, even though I'm on a podcast about all this crazy. I would say that my favorite thing is sensuality. Mm-hmm. And so I guess I would also say that I feel like if a man approaches me with a lot of sensuality and understands that about me, I really have, referencing our last week's podcast, I have much more of an ability to open.
Right.
So if the evening progresses in a way where there's a lot of sort of sensual kinds of factors, then, or the evening or the day or whatever, and they don't have, I'm not talking about expensive things, you know, I'm just talking about any way in which my senses get heightened. I have a really much bigger experience of even being alive. Right. And then when I connect to that feeling of being alive with a man in the room, because I have so much sexual energy in my body, that's irresistible. I'm pretty sure that's irresistible, although don't try it.
Who are you talking to?
I'm just kidding. Well, definitely not you. Don't try it.
Well, it's funny because you always use that word sensual, and every time you use it, I'm like, I like cringe.
I know.
Inside.
Her. You should see her face.
I don't know why I do that too, because like with what you were just talking about, of course, there are times when the mood is right and the stage has been set in a certain way that is conducive to romance, and I enjoy that, and it obviously opens me in a certain way, but for some reason I don't think I've connected those two ideas in it being like a conscious decision to bring sensuality into my life.
Right. Like, you know what I would say, Krista, for me, eating an amazing dinner in a beautiful restaurant is a sensual experience for me.
Okay.
Like with, you know, like red curtains and velvet, you know, like things like that are really like an incredibly beautiful place. Like all of a sudden Europe is in my head, but these beautiful places, all these beautiful places in Europe. And also I guess I was thinking of a place in Egypt actually, but where the mood and the evening, and you know those magical evenings where like the temperature's perfect and the breeze is perfect and the smells are perfect and you just come together and it's sensual no matter if there's someone to express it with or not.
Right.
That sensuality in me is what burns the fire, I guess I would say, of what then turns into sexuality, which is the expression of that, right?
Well, because to me it sounds like a very feminine quality to use the word sensual, and I think maybe that's why I resist it, because my pattern has been to hold more of a masculine energy throughout my life, and I'm working on it and I'm changing and I'm opening to this side of myself. So that's probably why when you say the word sensual, I kind of cringe a bit because I know that that's where I'm working at. That's what I'm opening to.
This is so great because I'm sure we have listeners that are men and women on both sides of this, that, sensuality is super comfortable. So for me, this is really funny. You said this to me the other day, just randomly, but when I go to a dance place where I get to move my body any way I want to any kind of music, I'm in heaven. I'm like, my arms all over the place and above my head and down around, and I just feel my body coming alive.
You're so Ojai.
That did not come from Ojai.
It just looked like it. If you could have seen her arms, they were doing like the whole hippie goddess dance.
Oh, well, I have the hippie goddess dance inside me. But what it really is for me, it's the actual rooted to the earth that my sexuality, but my sensuality and my spirituality comes from the earth too for me. So there's sort of like a sense of maybe a hidden paganism inside me, even though I really relate to other forms of religion. Like mine is a universal spirituality. So I take whatever I can. And I love like Far Eastern, like India, like really, I think I'm a small Indian woman. If you saw me, you'd know that's not true. But I have this very, how shall we say, Krista, waspy exterior. So I think it confuses people that I'm as sensual as I am because I don't actually look like the people who are super sensual and who are doing the hippie goddess thing. And yet it's inside me and it expresses itself and people are like, oh.
And I literally run from those type of experiences. I think that's why we were talking about the other day, because you were like, well, and I want to have this retreat and I want to have this drum circle and the fire
on the
dancing
beach
and the beach
fire.
And I was just like, oh, fuck, that's my worst nightmare. And you were like, why? And I was like, oh my God, I just can't stand those type of things. And you know where I think it's from?
What?
When I was growing up in Virginia and
Virginia,
we had HBO, but it was like, I don't know, there were all kinds of codes. We couldn't really watch it that often. But one night I got into it and they had one of those like real sex episodes. I don't know if you ever remember those.
No, lived overseas, missed all that.
Okay. So they would have these real sex things. And I think one of the episodes was filmed in Ojai, and they had taken a bunch of men out into the woods and done one of those kind of retreats, where they're all naked and dancing around and tapping into their sensuality. And I was probably, 18. I was so horrified and uptight, and that's what stuck in my mind is like drum circles and dancing and everything. And now living in Ojai, it's like, oh yeah, everybody's doing it. And it's not a big deal. But I think that memory back then when I wasn't prepared for it or didn't really understand it, it like stuck in my head.
Well, I think things we don't know can spook us. Right? Like, I mean, I'm not sure that if I suddenly watched when I was 18, a bunch of men half naked beating drums and painting on themselves and dancing around the woods, that I would have been all, that looks cool. I think I might have been like, that looks really scary. I don't know how to out of control that is. And I think,
let me be clear, it wasn't a sexual show like that.
No.
The whole point of the episode was, showing different exercises and experience to help men open up to that side of them, to free themselves.
To their sexual side?
To their sexual, sensual, just...
More open.
Probably more feminine side.
Yeah. Probably really true. And they probably were doing it with only men because women would freak out if they saw them doing it. So then they put it on TV for everyone to see. So it is a funny conversation because both Krista and I have this really strong sexual energy that we've had our whole lives. And whether we liked it or not, it's just there. And we've learned how to have fun with it and enjoy it and, I don't know, what would you say, harness it to some degree so that it's actually giving to us rather than taking from us. And we had to fall in love with that part of ourselves first, I believe. And in Krista, she's got much more of a directional, as she said, orientation to it. And so learning this piece of
the sensual,
the more circular, the more... I'm moving my body because I'm trying to say words that aren't coming. But
I don't even
tell us more about that.
I ever understood the difference really between sexual and sensual. And I think my first experience with And
it was on the beach.
No, but it was
no fire outside, but there was a fire inside.
And actually, that was a very sensual experience for sure. But that the opening to my sensual side happened over the summer. So I have a very clear moment where I know I shifted. Where because I think I've always been more in the masculine role sexually, even if I'm like in a really beautiful, sexy outfit that's very feminine, I would feel more in power when I'm not talking dominatrix, Catherine.
Well, I was wondering over here, but I actually think, Krista, that one of the things you're talking about is releasing control. When we've talked about your relationships in the past, you said you were always the aggressor. You were always the one that went and picked the guy and said, you're my guy. And then he came with you because you're beautiful and you're sexual. And he was like, hell yes, I'll be your guy. And that didn't leave space
for me to be feminine.
For you to be receptive.
Right. So then this summer with Golden Eyes, it...
Rico Suave this summer. Come on.
Okay.
Oh, now he's Golden Eyes. Yes. But we gotta be crystal clear here.
He was probably, because he's so in his masculine in a lot of ways, I was able to, or almost had to be in my feminine in a way. But what I really appreciated about my first experiences with him is that he created a lot of environment and a lot of sensuality. Yes.
So tell us about that. What did it look like?
Oh my God. I'm going to start turning around.
Candles, soft sheets.
Well, of course, the soft sheets, the candles. I'm not going to go into like what he was
flavored
wearing.
Condoms. You're not going to. Oh, now I have to know what he was wearing. Are you kidding?
You know what was really interesting? Oh God, he'd probably kill me if I said this, but because it's not around anymore. But he had like a red light bulb. Ooh. And what I have to say about it is that, do you know why in strip clubs they have a red light bulb? Or like they always dance under red?
I do not. Please share.
Well, maybe this is just like a old wives' tale, but
urban legend.
Yeah, I shouldn't say old wives' tale. I don't think they were talking about this in the olden days.
The old wives were all dancing under red lights.
Yeah,
well, I think
the urban legend.
Sensuous women in the olden days.
Oh, they were, but they weren't talking about it necessarily publicly.
They might not have had a red light bulb.
Right. Because they didn't have light bulbs. They had fire. They had campfire, cave fire. So the red light bulb, the urban legend is that because your cellulite doesn't show up as much when you're dancing around on the pole, because the red light, I don't know, it just makes the body and the
if it's pitch dark with just one light, no matter what color it is, I'm thinking it's better.
Yes, but apparently the red really makes you feel sexy. And
Krista is throwing her hair around all over the place and wiggling in her chair. So I'm pretty sure this sensuality conversation is actually working its magic.
Yes, so... every guy out there should go buy red light bulbs. Maybe we'll put them on our website and try to get a cut of it from Amazon if the sales
spike. It'll just say, holy fuck on it. Holy fuck, light bulbs. Can you imagine? What we're going to ask all our listeners to do is go around the world and replace light bulbs with red holy fuck light bulbs. Wouldn't that be hilarious?
I think the red, just like your red curtains, yes. I think just the red lighting, it gives this element of taking you out of your typical environment. So like if you go to bed every single night in the same bed with the same sheets and the same pillows, and then you get in there with your lover and nothing changes in the environment, then it's just this sterile environment that you get into. If your lover puts the candles out, there's fresh sheets, there's a nice, beautiful red light bulb, and the environment that you walk into all of a sudden feels new. It's almost like going on vacation in a way.
It's really sweet. And it's also going on vacation from our brains. That as women, one of the things that we can always talk about is how much self-judgment we have. The first thing about red light you're telling us is cellulite. If you should see Krista, I haven't seen a lot of cellulite on her, but that's always in our mind. And when we feel like we look sexy, or we feel like our man thinks we look sexy or are sexy, we will give you so much more of who we are. If we feel like the lights are too bright and every flaw of our body is showing, it is going to be really hard for us to give fully. So setting an environment even for us to do, if he's coming to my house, if he's coming to my house, then I can be responsible for it. And in my bedroom, because sensuality is so important to me, I have quite an arrangement of.
Oh, do tell.
I have red curtains.
Okay.
And I do not have red lights. But I have a large cheetah on my bed for the feminine evocation, and everyone loves it. And I have been told, I just want you to know, on great authority, that I have the best bedroom ever.
Nice.
So just want you to know that. But it has like satiny curtains and golds and reds. And for me, when I go into my bedroom, it's my sanctuary. And so it's for me when I'm single, as I am right now, as we've been talking about. Krista's been talking about that with me. But as I am single, it really warms me up. It gives me a space to feel my own womanhood, my own feminine, to be in this place that really feeds me. And I have lampshades that are gold and red and curtains, and it just all kind of works together.
Mm-hmm.
And I take baths, and I turn on candles. Bing, bing.
With your magic patrice. Candles.
Well, when I'm turned on, my candles just turn on. But anyway, so what we're saying is that for me, this is so enriching even while I'm single. Right? It's great to hear that this exploration and this relationship now with Golden Eyes is getting probably even deeper into these kinds of conversations and beingness in your sensuality, because it's safer and safer on the days that it is. And for me, I'm creating a certain level of it just for myself.
Which I think is amazing, because when you create it for yourself, you're giving it to yourself, and it takes the expectation from everyone else having to create it for you.
Right.
And then when they give it, great, it's even better. But
I would never be upset if a man put like rose petals all over my bed. Oh my God.
Allison, y'all.
Allison Armstrong says the funniest thing, and it's so true. And this is mostly about couples. But she said, if you ever want to get a man into bed, if you ever want to get a woman into bed, make it. Women feel safe when the environment is clear and clean and beautiful. And I have been trying to convince men of this for a really long time. And it so far has not actually permeated the consciousness of any man I've been with. But it is so true for me. And I feel honored and respected when I walk in the room, even if it's a bare kind of man room with, one picture on the wall and, a window. I don't care. If the bed is made and the room is neat, it means there's a level of care that I'm being offered. Yeah, clean sheets. I'm pretty sure that. Oh my God, what's that hair here? Nobody choke on that one.
I mean, not that I want to go back and bring up the Open Her book too much, but I think there is last week we were on the episode talking about all the different archetypes that we as women appreciate when men embody all of those different archetypes. And the part of that leads into this conversation is when a man is balanced in all of those archetypes, we naturally become sexually aroused and sexually attracted to them. But I don't know if the book said anything about sensuality that much. It really
I don't think it spoke about sensuality on purpose. And I think sensuality you have to be careful with, because I think men have a lot of sensuality also in many, many realms. And a lot of people who enjoy food a lot, who enjoy cooking, and it's because the flavors and the textures just really, really move them. Now, I do not enjoy cooking, just for the record, for everyone to ever know. Maybe it's the 15 years of cooking for kids.
That's how I'll feel sexy. You cook me a meal, and then I'm like,
exactly.
Spread open.
It's like you put lights down, invite me over, pour me even just a half glass of wine, because sometimes I'm a lightweight. And then you've made something for me to eat. It is such a pleasure. It's such a pleasure to be in the space. And you are paying attention to me. Like, these are pretty much all the things in that book. You're paying specific attention to me. You've tried, even if the music isn't perfect for me, you've tried. So that every level of my being is being connected. And then, we always talk about the 5 senses, right? But what about your 6th sense? Like your intuition that this man is really into you, that he's really checking you out, that he really wants to be with you.
And
he's
his
not
intuition
of mailing it in,
His intuition too of like what you would want. Like, has he paid enough attention to you to maybe have some items there that would make you feel good? Or that, items. Well, items
like
meaning
rose
like,
petals?
like you love flowers. So if he had rose petals all over the bed, that'd be great. You know me,
when you're like, who left the flowers on the bed?
Because when I come to your house and you have a big thing of flowers, I'm like, oh my God, you don't love me because you know that I'm allergic to those flowers and they make my, head hurt. And so I've
started running out of the house with any flowers I have.
Right. Can you love me? If I had said that to a man, like, hey, these flowers really bother me, these particular flowers really bother me. If he had that flower all over the room, I'd be like, oh, he didn't listen to me.
Yeah.
It would shut me down because I wouldn't feel like he was listening.
Right. And again, all of these responsibilities is so great because it's such a kaleidoscope of how do we each take responsibility for our own. I'm sure men know the reason that women are late for dates and take so long, and this is another of your pet peeves, which I love that it's a pet peeve of yours, is that often they're preparing themselves to be available. Mm-hmm. So it's not like all of the little makeup stuff we do, guys, if you're listening, is not all because we think it actually makes us more beautiful. Partly it's because it makes us feel a certain way.
So we're attending to ourselves.
It's like we're getting dressed and we're putting ourselves out in the world in a way that says, I love myself. And that's really sexy, even to ourselves.
And I care about you enough that I'm taking the time to,
I want you to see that I've put myself together for you. Mm-hmm. And I'm taking the time because, I don't know, maybe some of you guys out there, we do appreciate this because a lot of people do. But putting on makeup can be super fun. And it's playful. And, if you think about getting married and what women do around getting married and all of the girls that have to be around us when we get married,
right.
And everyone has to help with our makeup and our hair, and we have to have opinions from 5,000 people because it's fun for us. It's totally fun for us. Now, Krista might have gone and picked out her wedding dress by herself, and that could have just exactly been what happened, but it did not happen to me.
Wow.
How did it happen, Krista?
Do you know something about my past?
I do not.
Oh.
I'm just making that up. I'm like, did you go pick out your wedding dress by yourself?
No, my bestie was with me. Okay. We went shopping together for it.
But you didn't bring all your bridesmaids?
I didn't have any.
Right.
It was kind of a shotgun type of, not shotgun. It was
Wait, you've had two. Which one are we talking about?
Okay, number two.
That didn't sound good.
Number two.
Let's go with something else. Husband
my second.
B.
Yes. Yes, we just escaped off and bought the dress and didn't put a lot of time and energy into it because I was very much in my masculine of like, let's get this marriage done. Like it literally.
Were you preggers?
Sure was.
Oh. Yeah. Well, as opposed to Krista,
as opposed to my first marriage when I wasn't and there wasn't as much rush to the occasion, there was a little bit more time taken in all those details and the sensual details, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. What I was going to say is that I also, in my second marriage, was pregnant, and I took ungodly amount of time in the sensual details because at that moment I was feeling so incredibly vulnerable that I had to let those things come to the surface. And a friend of mine made my dress. It was so beautiful. She was a design student in LA, and another friend of mine took me out and got me out of the house, and we had a very simple wedding.
But you felt sensual.
But I completely felt sensual, and I really took care of making sure I was available, partly because part of my body was feeling not sensual. I was a little bit sick, a little bit, pregnant sick. And so I really needed to overcompensate.
Which is interesting that you being in your sensual went to that direction and me being more in my masculine went to I'll just take any old dress that doesn't make me look fatter than I am at the moment and let's just buy it and get it done. Like totally different ways.
We should look at each other's wedding pictures someday.
Oh, mine are so ugly.
Funny. Oh, yeah.
It's so bad. I want to
Because you did them with an Instamatic camera that day because you were still just getting through the experience?
We actually had a photographer.
Oh, okay.
We had a photographer. It rained, and I had this massive pregnancy zit on my face that was so big that one of our friends sent pictures afterward with the zit blown up, like they'd photoshopped it. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
One of your best friends who was trying to make you feel really good on the day of your wedding. But you were playing it off, right? So part of you was playing it off like, we're going to get this, we're just going to get this done.
Just get her done.
Get her done. And so your friends joined that same energy.
Yes, they
right?
did. I want to say something about the masculine and sensuality, because
Okay.
I don't have any idea about this topic or what that would mean. But if we as women love sensuous stuff and we want to open more fully into that with our partners, what would the men, like what could we provide for the men that they would find sensuous or opening for them? And
That sounds
no
like a
idea.
great topic.
Because you're not a man, so you probably won't have this answer, but I'm very curious about that because, you know, Golden Eyes definitely
I've got
has a
one
little bit
thing.
more of a feminine aesthetic, meaning style-wise, very metrosexual in a way, likes
He's also kind of European, which also feeds that. Right?
so likes more of the sensual materials and colors and that type of thing. So I can see why that side of him would come forward more easily. Whereas this is being stereotypical, but then the typical American man, like who's the football loving, whatever, where do we have them go with this? Like,
That's such an interesting question because I really don't think it's female or male oriented. I do think that different people like different kinds of energy. And I also think possibly that being so sensual is really vulnerable.
yes.
But one of the things I know a couple of my partners, one especially, really liked was for me to dance for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I grew up in the Middle East, so I have a little belly dancing that I do, and I have a little India dancing that I do. And if I set the mood like that, it's sort of like, you know what it does? It lengthens the experience of enjoyment. It's like he gets to sit there, watch this whole thing, and be tantalized and titillated both.
What about titillated?
Is that where tit came from? I don't know. Titillated and tantalized by whatever expression is coming through me. Now, I have to generate that in the beginning, so I will have taken care of myself
vulnerable.
and taken a bath and put beautiful lotion on and all that kind of stuff. It's very vulnerable. It's extreme, especially the first time because you're not sure he's going to love it. You're like, oh my God, am I really doing this?
I did a sexy dance lately.
Did you?
I sure did. But it was, you know, when Golden Eyes was away over vacation.
Oh,
And-
phone sensuality.
Yeah, it was a little
Or
video.
Skype
And it was a video.
All right,
and
same
it was
deal.
so fun to make. And it felt like it bridged it. Well, first of all, so vulnerable for me to do. And then to send, because you're like, oh my God.
What if somebody opens this up?
What if someone else I send it to the wrong person? You know, there's all of that stuff. But since we were working on trying to stay connected while we were away from each other, and you can Skype, you can text, you can talk on the phone. And this was just like another level of creating a little bit of magic and a way of making him feel special of like, I love you so much. I'm going to go past my comfort zone and send you this video. And it was such a beautiful video and he loved it so much. And I know that it helped. I don't know. It just
Helped you bridge together. You came
yes.
together in the, you know, the thing though, Krista, that I'm noticing as you talk about it is the amount of sensuality that you had to generate in your own body in order to dance for him.
right.
And you generated it with the memory and with the feeling and all of your muscle memory about what it feels like to have him near you. And you use that as what you generated back to him, which is so cool. So we're saying to everyone, like, don't leave this out. This is like it's like you can have it in so many ways, like a juicy steak or a delicious glass of wine or a spa day, or, it can be it can be like, oh my God, there's this amazing chocolate and it has lavender and roses on it. And
Is it the one I used to give you?
Yeah, it's the one you gave me first.
Yeah.
See, you know how to pick it up. And I gave it to someone for Christmas, and she texted me, and she's like, I've lost track of who gave this to me. Was it you? And I'm like, is it the super sexy chocolate with lavender? And she said, yes. And I could just feel her pulsating like,
Right.
oh my God.
The thought I'm just having is how vulnerable it is to be sensual.
Oh, it is. To be seen being sensual.
Right. So on both sides. So us dancing for our men, very vulnerable. A man setting the stage for his woman, very vulnerable, because she might walk in and say, what are you doing? I'm not in the mood for that, right? So
if she were Krista, she might say, did you just drop the damn rose petals on the bed?
Get those stinky flowers
out of your room.
But it's vulnerable
to super vulnerable.
Open your heart like that and share that side of yourself with someone else. So it's interesting that the sensual side is the scariest side, and yet it seems like it's the most important part of kind of opening together and creating the magic together.
Absolutely. And what's interesting about it is that even when our bodies, when we move to the stage of actually starting to touch each other, right? And so it doesn't matter who you're with or whatever, that's not the point. But the point is, as you begin to touch each other, sometimes the sexiest thing a person can do has nothing to do with your actual, quote unquote, erogenous zones.
Right.
Your breasts, your pussy, your butt. Sometimes it's a man putting his hand on a certain part with a way that he has seen you.
Right.
Like he thinks there's this beautiful part of your body that's the way your face is. And so he touches your face and it just like lights you up because you can feel that that's what his attraction is coming from.
And to me, that's when we're all connected to our higher self. Like it's very hard to get into that vulnerable space when we're living down in the ego and the fear and the past hurts, or am I worthy enough? Are they going to like me? Is she going to think I'm ridiculous for doing this? Like when we're living in that fear ego place,
it's impossible.
The magic can't happen. So we have to open ourselves to our soul, our spirit, our God self in order to invite that magic in order to create these experiences that are so juicy and magical and alive.
Yeah, and it really takes knowing ourselves, right? We have to know, like, some of this stuff still feels slightly awkward to you, and I see you exploring it, and so someday people, we're going to have a drum circle on the beach with fire, and I hope you're all there because Krista's going to be leading it. In the meantime, I'll lead it. But what's true is you have to know yourself, because if you push yourself too far, if you think, oh gosh, I've read this book that says that, beauty comes from the inside, and if I could just harness my inner dancer, but you feel like a jerk when you do it, and you can't actually do it with any safety in your body, and you don't feel like yourself.
It's because you're in your head.
But you shouldn't do it.
True.
That's what I'm saying is really respect and honor where you are. And then, take classes with women, take a belly dancing class, so we have this thing here in California. I don't know if anybody else does it, but I've been doing it since I got to California for 25 years. And it's a dancing that you do just from the inside of what the beat does to your body. Mm-hmm. And it's incredible.
I call that hip hop.
No, it's not hip hop.
I know. That's how different we are.
You experience. You like to jump up and down and pound things. And never mind. My experience of this is that it literally arises from inside me. And I'm sure actually hip hop probably does the same thing. It just arises, and that's how we express ourselves. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what it is. When someone sees us, the best art that there is someone being so much themselves that they express that vulnerability out into the world. That's why it's so hard to be an artist. Oh my God. Because you're giving your heart out into the world, and people are going to go like, thumbs up, thumbs down. And they're all the people who, guess what, aren't being vulnerable.
Right.
So it's tricky, but this is where the juice is. Like, the artists get to live in the juice. We get to do on this podcast. We're like, oh my God, what did I say today? It's just us. It's humanity. It's women. We want to talk to you, and we want you guys eventually to come talk to us. We have such a great plan for doing some of these retreats. Apparently, we're going to be doing a sensuality one, Krista. No. Krista will be doing logistics.
I will be the client.
She'll be doing logistics for the sensuality retreat.
Yes.
Just an invitation to every human being to be fully alive in your contact and connection with the universe, and then plugged into yourself so that you're bridging any kind of separation in your mind, so that you get to like, you know, when you're at that kind of party and there's freaking, it used to happen in the 80s and disco places, right? Or was that the 80s or 70s?
No,
anyway,
70s.
I don't really, I was there, but I don't remember. No, but the music was so loud and it was pulsing so loud. And that all sorts of things were happening. There was lots of sexuality because the sensuality factor was so high because people were sweating and they were like...
It gets them out of their mind. And I think that
gets
was
us
like,
out of our minds for
yeah,
sure.
so when you have two people who are maybe
She was
stiff...
out of her mind.
Stiff.
Stiff.
So like if two
Hopefully
people
one
aren't
is
having
stiff.
a lot of sexual energy together and they're, I don't know if they're, one person's closed off or one person's scared.
Or one's mad.
Yeah,
Or
it's
one's
like
hurting.
that's a really hard place to come in together and
Really.
be sensual. There has to be some of the open her type stuff that happens first, but it's these, it feels like there's these stages in a relationship and that the more you open and open and open, the more pleasure you can have and the more spirit that you're working with here.
Yeah, you know, we like to say heaven on earth because that's how we intend to live, and we do a decent job at it. And that's what it means, is like taking the most enhanced experience of life, which is heaven, right? It's just like everything is firing on all cylinders. It's joy, love, peace, compassion, kindness, connection, all of it. And you bring it right down into your body and you have sex with that, like
Right.
with the other person. I mean, I guess you could have it by yourself too. But what I mean is that that's where because you cannot be in that place and not be connected. So it just can be the most...
That's a spiritual
the holy
experience.
Fuck. It's the holy fuck. What can we say? Heaven on earth. So on that note,
On the perfect note of the holy fuck.
note of the holy fuck, we love you. We are so grateful for your listening, for your being here with us. It is such an honor and a pleasure to play with you and each other.
Dun,
Dun, dun, dun. Okay.
Spread the love.
Spread the love.
Do you want the opportunity to see the gals of Holy Fuck in person? If so, go to holyfuckpodcast.com and join our mailing list so you can find out when and where these goddesses will be transforming lives next. And yes, I know, I'm talking about myself in third person. Open your browser, type in holyfuckpodcast.com, click on mailing list, and give us your most trusty email, not that bogus one you give to Walmart. So sign up now. Not tomorrow. Now. Now. Thank you.